everyone! Welcome back to Draw Steel, a pact made in amber. We're back! And things could go long or short tonight, so I'm just going to launch into a recap of what happened last episode, and we will see where we end up in today's events. So, previously, on a pact made in amber, the crew of the unfortunate Scorpion made their way across the inner sea of Redemoinho Ilihas, archipelago of Little Ix. It was an easy journey, the calm interior waters protected from the fierce storms issuing forth from the maelstrom to the... But the reason for their journey was anything but calm. They had left trouble brewing back on the island of Amastra. Trouble with the name Captain Kouno, who seemed hell-bent on seeing punitive measures being taken against the Platsiski, a clan of Tetzalcoatl who had been momentarily taken over by a militant Death Rex, who may have had his decision-making altered by a tool of the old god, an amber glaive now in the possession of Higgins. The crew was charged by the Princeps Ragash of Parada to report to Consul Haruda, the administrative head of the Navy here in Little Ix. Ragash hoped that the party would be a dissenting voice against the pressure to respond militarily on Amastra, though at the same time, the Princeps warned the crew to stay out of political games. Kind of at the same time as putting them into political games. While traveling, the party worked on various downtime activities, with Higgins working on perfecting a new recipe, Bansii continuing her unending charity work, Yuvik training the crew, and Cobb repeatedly worrying Robert by diving into the fucking ocean. They also got to know their passengers a bit more, with Bansii discovering a bit about Aurilla's own rough upbringing and association with charity organizations, and Yuvik learning that Blackbird definitely leans more towards the party's perspective of events rather than toward Captain Combs. Higgins also spent some time with young Ambrosio, encouraging the Raiden White to train for combat, and Yuvik learned more about the Hummer from Barricella, gaining some concerning knowledge about the Arcanotech aboard their vessel. After 3 days, the unfortunate Scorpion finally made its way into the Bay of Mapaches and into the naval yard of Pauso. As they docked and made contact with the port authorities, they witnessed a strange event on the vessel nearest them. A veritable horde of furry, ring-tailed creatures issued forth from below its decks, swarming the dock, fleeing into the city, and one especially rotund raccoon mistakenly made its way onto the Scorpion, leapt into Yuvik's face, and belched a cloud of black powder into it, after which the party began to hear a loud hissing noise. And that exact moment is where we begin our story tonight, as this cloud of black powder has been belched into Yuvik's face. Everyone else is in the vicinity. Everyone is witnessing this, as you had been kind of like communicating with one of the naval authorities, the information of your vessel, all that jazz. And you all witness this horde of raccoons come out of the ship, swarm the docks, flee into the city, and one of the stragglers belch this cloud of black powder into Yuvik's face. And then this loud hissing sound is followed by a loud boom that is shouted into your ears from behind you, rather than issuing forth in an explosion from any actual location, and followed by a peal of laughter as tense or not, you all turn to see Aurelia having been making the hissing noise and shouting boom in your ears in the immediate aftermath of this, whatever the fuck this was.
Really is the demon,
Yep.
right?
Does anybody react or do anything in response to this, or is it like a oh haha kind of moment?
So the smoke came out, she starts making the sound, makes the fake boom, but there's not actually anything happening.
Doesn't seem like anything is happening. That little rotund raccoon, which is significantly less rotund now, kind of like hits the deck, eeps, seeing all of you, and just kind of like scampers back down the gangplank and down the dock.
After a noticeable pause after she says boom, I yell, "Get down," and tackle her to the ground. I've got you.
Are you pulling your punches, or is this like a solid tackle? Because you're like 7'5".
I'm not trying to hurt her.
You're going to kill her.
I'm not trying to hurt her.
Okay, but you solidly like tackle her to the ground. She right, like this is not like a blur of movement or anything like that. She sees you coming, her eyes get wide, and she's like, "What? No, no!" Whoa, into the deck, and just okay, I deserve
Don't worry,
that.
you're safe.
No, get off me! You weigh so much.
I teleport off, standing 5 feet away.
She like slowly picks herself up. It's like, oh, I was still funny. You should have seen your faces. Actually, and she points at Yuvik, who is still like covered in black powder. Is like, you should still see your face. Maybe like stand away from me.
So and the dock master, like, wasn't the dock master like right beside me?
The dock master was still on the dock, right? Or it was not the dock master, not the port authority, but one of their representatives, right? That just comes down to the boats and takes all your information, all that shit, right? Had been on the dock, like conversing back and forth with y'all on the deck. And when the horde of raccoons came out of the ship, he dove headfirst into the water. So he is just now like coming up and kind of like scrabbling. There's a bunch of different like built-in ladders that are hanging from the docks.
Yeah.
And he like climbs unceremoniously up one, very perturbed, like looking around. And as that kind of happens, you hear another bit of commotion as, again, from that same vessel that's just across from you. You see these two very kind of like large barrel-chested sailors come up out from below deck. And they, more than Yuvik, are just covered like a soot of black powder across them. Both of them, they look fairly similar to one another. They both have like very dark, like black hair, short-ish, but kind of like pulled together in such a way that makes it kind of like feel as if it's longer than it actually is. Big mustachios, big barrel chests, open kind of like vests, big pantaloons, and they are stumbling and look drunk off their asses and very confused about what the fuck is going on. So they're back up, like further up onto the docks, right? Like in the actual like you know, warehouses and stuff like that kind of line the dock row. The horde of raccoons is basically like disappeared. But there was a lot of shouting, and you hear, like, a little bit of shouting further away as these raccoons have just kind of, like, filtered back into the city, and freaked out a couple people on their way, but overall, there's not a big hubbub being made about this, as if it's maybe not like, a consistent thing, but perhaps a reoccurring thing?
I would like to make a hubbub.
You would like to make a... What would you like to do?
The guy that dove into the water on it, like, while he's calling on me, like, "Oi! What the fuck was that?"
He is a little occupied, like, climbing up out of the water to immediately respond to you, but you can kind of, like, hear him muttering and cursing a slew of expletives under his breath, right? Like, as he pulls himself back up onto the docks, and immediately, like, just sets about, like, wringing out portions of his garb, like it's actually gonna do anything. He's fully soaked, right? But your call to him does kind of like bring his attention back towards you, but as he moves to look to you as if to respond, he sees these two drunken sailors, and you see his eyes alight, and he just starts marching towards them, and both of the guys are just like standing on the deck of the vessel they're on, just clearly no clue what the fuck is going on, inebriated, looking around like confused, looking over at you all, squinting, and then as this port authority starts marching towards them, one of them like pats the other's arm and gestures towards him, and they both go kind of like pale in the face, and immediately kind of like stand up straight and like, oh, yes sir, you know, kind of scenario. And he just lays into them. He just starts yelling at them. And it's difficult to make out, like, he's speaking Riohan. The thing is he's not saying much. It's a curse word every 2 words, basically. He's not trying to get information out of them. He's trying to assuage his frustration. But you all are kind of like forgotten in this moment, right?
Hell yeah.
Orilla, by the way, is kind of like has picked herself up, has moved over to the railing, and is kind of like leaning there, kind of clutching her side and just wheezing a little bit. Partially still giggling, but also like, oh god, I got hammered. What the fuck?
By a little halftime being.
I'm just trying to make sure she was safe.
Geez. All right, that's the welcoming party we can expect. What the fuck just happened?
I think this is a great place to go ahead and kind of like interject from a like let's take a build a character moment kind of like scenario, right? Little Ix as this kind of like location has only existed for about 2 years now, right? Basically as soon as it showed up, there were plenty of like trading routes that cut near the Maelstrom. So it went from not existing at all to existing, as vessels kind of like intersected it and were like, oh, what the fuck is this, right? And almost immediately, like within weeks of finding out about its existence, fleets of explorers and naval officers and things like that from Capital had been sent to investigate and then colonize, right? So it's been about 2 years.
Colonizers.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yes. Pouso is first landing, right? Is that's where it gets its name. Is the first place. It's not the first place that anyone set foot on Little Ix, but it's the first place that the Navy took up post, right? So Pouso has been around since basically the last 2 years. Sans maybe like a month or so, right? The question though is how long has each of you been in Little Ix, right? Because Higgins and Uvik we know are fairly fresh. Bansii is fairly fresh to the Navy, but is a resident of Capital. So we're not quite sure how exactly fresh Bansii is to the Navy, so maybe Bansii has been here for a while, maybe
Well,
not.
Bansii does not smell fresh to me.
Bansii does not.
That's
What? We
rude.
don't know that.
That's
maybe
your rude,
maybe
dude.
Bansii does a lot to like,
I smell
packs
like
with
eucalyptus and death.
their. Oh well, never mind. you
Eucalyptus
you hit
and
me. You had me with the eucalyptus, and then you hit me with the death. So never mind.
Typically
Um,
both.
But Cobb has been a part of serving the Navy for like 7 years now. Is that right? Right. So it's possible that
7.
Cobb might have been here for the past 2 years, or it might have been that Cobb got sent over more recently. So that's kind of a question that I'm going to pose to each of you is how long do you think you have been in Little Ix at this point?
Little Ix is the archipelago.
Little Ix is this archipelago.
Part of it.
Yeah.
4 years.
Or, no, it's only existed for 2 years.
4 years.
He stands by what he said.
Okay, so
I stand
Cobb,
by-
You heard me.
Cobb is maximized at 4 years.
I witnessed the
Meaning
birth
2
of this
years?
area. And
He
I
was here
witnessed
when it rose from the water.
Okay, so
That's right.
Cobb got sent over very early on, so that would mean Cobb is pretty familiar with Poso and the going-ons of the city and such. What about the rest of you?
Yes, indeed. Very.
5 minutes.
So very new. I think the maximum you all have been to Poso at least once, if not for very long, right? Because this is where you would have arrived on at being shipped from capital, right? So I think I mentioned this in like the first episode or something like that, but like the shortest amount of time any of you could have been here is probably about a month, right? With the various time that it would have taken to get set into your roles and Poso and then sent off, like put on a vessel, sent off on missions, and then to have arrived where we started our story. Probably about a month is the minimum. So Yuvik wants to go for the minimum, which is a month.
Yeah, I'll just be min. I'm gonna min.
Mennonite.
Minion.
Happy
Negative 2 days.
Yuvik is very fresh.
You freshy.
Yeah, I'll just for the most part, I've not been to the archipelago at all, ever. Period.
What about Higgins and Bansii? What do you think?
I think I'm gonna do the minimum as well.
Okay, so
Like, I'm
Bansii.
not sure that there's anything that would have drawn me here for an extended period of time.
And
Yeah.
the way we've kind of been talking about it, I get the feeling that Bansii, and your choice, correct me if I'm wrong, Bansii feels very new to the Navy as well, because Bansii is only here recently for information, basically. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
to
think that's
confirm,
fair.
Capital is not in the archipelago. It's completely
No,
different.
capital is
Yes.
a lot farther west.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If remember, there is a pin in the APMI chat that has a world map, right? So
Thank you.
Little
Okay.
Ix is that little cluster of islands just below that big whirlpool in the Bale Sea. Capital is to the west of that in Rioja, right?
Okay.
So
Where are Hakan typically from?
Hakan are typically from the east of that in northern Vasloria. Although there
Okay.
are Hakan in various different locations throughout the world, but those are the main, like up in those mountains to in between what is it, Vasloria, and there's another place up there. It's like the Viking place.
Okay. Then I would like to say that I have been here before, but it was almost 2 years ago now, when it was still pretty fresh, as I was traveling across
Oh,
the
you pit
ocean
stopped.
to the capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
There you go.
The ship that I was on had a layover here to get supplies and stuff, so I have been about, but I don't know a lot.
Sure. Okay. So you have visited before, but you don't know that much. How recently did you arrive to be stationed here? Are we going minimum month, or are we here for a couple months, or what are we thinking?
I'm gonna say 4 months ago.
4 months. Okay. Sounds good. Interesting. So, I would say, kind of like bringing this all back, to the scenario at hand, and Yuvik's kind of like question of like, what the fuck is going on here? Is this the normal kind of like greeting? Cobb is probably the only one who has been in Poso enough times or long enough to really kind of have a handle on things. And the answer to that question would probably be no, this isn't a normal greeting, but it's not that strange, right? This place is infested with raccoons. They get up to all sorts of trouble, but they're seen as lucky by the Riojans. And there's a saint that there's a trickster saint that they're associated with. So they're kind of like left alone to their own devices and kind of like get away with whatever they want to do, right? Cobb will not have seen anything like this happen necessarily, but a small group of raccoons like breaking in somewhere and causing havoc or getting into someone's like food stall or what have you is completely inside the norm, right?
Yes. Best not to anger the
Someone's
small
phone
ones.
is vibrating.
Oh,
whose phone is vibrating?
Oh no, is your 3D printer?
Oh,
Okay.
the printer. It's
There it is.
level in the bed. Sorry.
Is it also normal for raccoons to belch gunpowder?
Yes.
Yeah, I have known many a raccoon to do that.
Only when insert trickster god is feeling interesting.
Tricky.
Cobb would know. Zach doesn't.
The answer is probably not, and from the way that the dock
Well, so my first
authority
instinct
is yelling at
is
those
that-
two sailors, it's probably a definite no.
No.
So my first instinct is that I don't know why raccoons would be eating black powder. So I assume that ship is smuggling something within the black powder, which the raccoons were trying to get at.
Wouldn't it make more sense to be the other way around?
No. This is a military outpost. There's going to be black powder coming in all the time.
That's
What
true.
do they not want? Drugs?
For clarity, you all are
Contraband?
in the naval
Rugas?
yard. So this section of the port is strictly military vessels, and the vessel across from you is a military vessel. It's just like a transportation vessel, right? So it looks like it was transporting black powder. But Higgins might be onto something.
I start combing the port for any shady characters that are particularly interested in the boat.
Again, this particular portion of the port is the naval yard. So 99% of the people that you see are naval personnel or naval crew members.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right?
But naval personnel can be shifty too.
A cab.
Actually, roll me a power roll.
Okay. Oh, I messed up my panels. I wish these panels were a little bit more intuitive. Where did my dice rolling dice? There we go. Ow!
Ah,
That's a fucking good roll.
One off from crit.
18. That's almost a crit. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that you have a skill necessarily that would like work for this. Maybe read person.
I have a lot of stuff associated with like gathering information and contacts and stuff.
underworlds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in this particular moment, you don't.
All right, real quick. I have lost my character sheet somehow. I don't know how to get it back.
Uh-oh.
Can you right-click your token?
When I do that, I go up to panels and then click the character thing. Then you can
Oh.
double click that.
I did
Yeah.
not know
Yeah,
about
so
that
I
one.
do that, and it brings up an empty panel. That's where I was looking at stuff before.
Reload. That's my answer for everything. Reload.
Turn
I'll be
it
back.
off and turn it back on again.
That's the IT in me is turn it off, turn it on.
The it.
So Higgins,
we can do
as you're kind of like looking around, scanning for what you would feel is like some sort of maybe criminal enterprise or something shady going on here, you don't see anything. In fact, because of the 18 that you rolled, you suspiciously don't see anything. Because you should see something, right? Like you said.
It's almost like no one's looking at it on purpose.
Just because this is a naval yard doesn't mean that there aren't some things going on here or there. That is 100% to be expected, right? There's always going to be a quartermaster that has a few extra items. There's always going to be someone with sticky fingers. There's gonna be some, like, it's not like crew members or naval officers or things like that don't have habits on the side. There's always going to be something going on. And you don't see a damn thing. And notably, as you're kind of like looking, Yoham kind of like walks up, because he had been at the steering wheel this whole time. It comes down the stairs and walks over because of all the commotion and everything like that. But he sees you kind of like scanning the yard, and he kind of like comes and walks up to you, stands next to you, and kind of like does the same thing, and kind of like under his breath, like, well, that's weird. And like, you know, Yoham is kind of like your knows every good fence kind of guy. Like, knows he is a prior criminal.
He was
right?
a criminal before he joined the military.
100%, right? Like, he's here because he had debts to pay, and this was his escape, right? So, like, this is kind of what he does, and he's with you, right? Like, he kind of, like, is muttering under his breath to where not everyone else can hear, but where you can hear is like, that's suspicious.
What's suspicious, Master Yoham?
What we're seeing, or not seeing, for that matter.
What should be here? Or what should be happening?
I think this is a great opportunity. Would you like to make an NPC? Higgins? Mitch?
Would I like to make an NPC?
Would you like to make an NPC?
What does that mean?
That means that in his response to you, I think it'll be fun for everyone to be able to have some input on some of the NPCs in Pouso. So this is very off the cuff, but Yoham he has, much like you, he has criminal contacts, right? So Yoham is going to respond to you and say, I should see at least so-and-so. Right? Because he knows he works here. He knows he should be here pretty damn consistently. So who is this fence or quartermaster or otherwise criminal enterprise that Yoham references to Higgins?
Are there cat people? Can
Yeah,
we have
absolutely.
a Khajiit fence?
100%.
Khajiit fence over
I,
here.
I don't think they're called Khajiit in this world, but I do believe there are cat people.
And I want you to have a very thick Khajiit accent when you
I
talk as the
cannot
cat
do a
person.
Khajiit accent, so good luck. You can what in one hand and shit in the other.
See which one fills up faster.
Anything else other than Khajiit?
Let's say that they are technically civilian.
Okay.
But they work on the base sort of as a liaison for the quartermasters, which gives them a distinct idea of a lot of the goods coming and going from the base.
Yeah. So
and
they're like a
allows them to kind of
civilian.
be
They're a civilian that works in contracting to obtain goods that the quartermasters need. So by knowing what the quartermasters need, they know what's coming in because that's what they don't need, and they know what's not coming in because that's what they do need.
Correct.
Okay.
And then they're often who the various grunts and even officers maybe go to for things that they're not supposed to have.
All right, sounds good. Give me a name. And a gender-ish.
I want it to be Odysseus.
Odysseus. Oh, great.
Odie's a cat fence.
Odysseus.
And I also would like him to be a bit rotund of a cat person.
Boy.
If you're thinking Malazan, I want him to be very croup flavored.
very big boy. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so that is what kind of like Yoham will say to you, right? Like he'll say, well, if nobody else, then Odysseus should be here, and I don't see him, so that's strange.
Are you any good at drawing, Yoham? Or do you know anyone on the ship who is?
I have a fair enough hand, but I wouldn't pitch myself as a painter. I think Chella's pretty decent.
Do you think you could talk to her or him? I don't remember.
Her. Yeah,
okay.
Her.
If she could just take a couple of quick sketches of anyone going onto that ship.
Onto that ship? And he kind of circumspectly like gestures over to her.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Yeah, I'll put her to it.
Might not mean anything. Might not be useful down the road, but I'm curious.
Note a couple faces. Never hurts in our line of business.
Yeah.
And he kind of like elbows you and grunts when his elbow hits you. It's like It's like and it's very clear like our line of business is not referencing you all as a crew in the Navy. He
knows that I am from I can't remember the school of it, but the Academy for Subterfuge.
What you're capable of. He doesn't know your past, but what you're capable of doing clearly indicates a certain amount of familiarity with.
Actually, you know that now that I think about it, so my backstory or my thing that burned me or whatever.
Sure.
I'll get to that. Builder culture. Yeah, so like I'm an agent, but I was disavowed or something like that. Hold on. Yeah, informed. So I was, after years of cultivating a rich list of informants, one of those informants risked everything to expose the heinous plans of powerful individuals, and I promised to protect them, but the agency left them hanging, literally. You cut your ties. Oh, never mind. The person died. Never mind. I thought it was someone. I was going to say maybe Yoham was
person?
one of my informants, and we.
Well, I mean,
enlisted together or something.
we can tweak things if you want. He could be that person that kind of like went out on a limb and then had to go on the run because of it, or the person could have been someone else and they could have died, but Yoham maybe knows you through that person because of other
there we go.
contacts.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do
You
that.
know?
Like the person did die, but Yoham was like friends with them or something.
Yeah.
And knew
So-
that I tried what I could to help.
Absolutely, and that breeds a little bit more familiarity between the two of you, and that's something that we can explore more in the future, or
Sure.
not, depending on the situation. But yeah, so Yoham has a bit of undercurrent in his statements to you compared to the rest of the crew because he has a little more familiarity with your background insofar as like the criminal agency kind of side of things.
Mm-hmm.
He'll say, do you want me to keep an eye out for Odysseus? See if he pops up later?
Yeah. If you see him, just see if you
want me
can
to-
find out where he's going to be later this evening. I think we've got a few things we need to report on. I don't remember why we're actually here, to be honest with you.
There was a whole recap.
I know there was, but I missed the like why we're specifically here.
The whole recap. You're
Um,
you're reporting in to the console about what happened in Amostra.
Right. Okay. We're just here to report on
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So we've got to go debrief and talk about what happened with the insert lizards names here.
He'll nod at you and he'll say, "Sure, I'll keep an eye out. If I see him, I'll make plans and I'll ask Chella to keep an eye on some faces."
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
As that kind of wraps up, Ambrosio approaches all of you, and captains.
Yes, bro.
And when he kind of like gets your attentions, he says, "Might I, since we are docking, would you allow me some shore leave in order to visit the metal? It's been quite some time."
What is the battle?
And so a little bit of connotation here that all of you would know in some form or another. Again, our capital residents, Bansii and Cobb, would be far more familiar with this. But first of all, requesting shore leave like this when you come into the port, perfectly normal thing to do. Normally, part of the crew gets shore leave, typically like 24 hours, because it's extremely unlikely for when you all to arrive, it's extremely unlikely for you to get any sort of order to immediately ship you out, right? So that's perfectly normal. The metal is basically a red and white settlement, right? And Bansii and Cobb would be more familiar with this because Capital is the greatest city in this or any age, and it caters to nearly 1 million people, and only a portion of that populace is above ground. The layers beneath Capital, the old cities underneath, play host to dozens of different factions and races, and a metal is basically an underground red and white settlement. And there is one here in Pousa. There's a small metal under the inner city. This will, for our people who have been here for only a month, so Yuvik and Bansii, you might not have heard of the metal that is here. But for Higgins and Cobb, you've probably heard of the metal that is here, and maybe have even like witnessed Ambrosio's coming and going. The Red and Whites tend to be very social creatures, and there's not like a medical thing, right? Like it's not like a specifically, like a goat on its own will tend to get very lonely and kind of die, right? That kind of scenario. So it's not as strong as that, but it is kind of like this longing that Raiden Whites will get when they're too far away from their others for too long. So they will pretty continuously like visit metals whenever they have the opportunity, so as to just kind of like feel a little more at home.
Cool.
And it seems like Ambrosio is just kind of like trying to get his first foot in the door before the other crew members come in and ask for shore leave, right? Because again, it's typically like half the crew takes shore leave and the other half stays, and then they swap out type thing. It feels like Ambrosio is kind of like, me first, please, right? Kind of like scenario.
Yeah. Hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Is that permission, Captain?
It is.
I'm
Very
good with
well.
it.
I shall grab my things and be on my way. And he turns about heel and walks below decks. Anything else happening? You see, about at this point, right? The Port Authority is finished berating the two sailors, and in fact, two naval guards have come down the dock and have kind of gotten involved. And it seems like there might be something going on, probably because there might be some sort of punishment because these guys are clearly supposed to be on duty on this vessel and are liquored out of their gourd.
Are they young?
I didn't see no breathalyzer
No,
test.
they're pretty middle-aged, like portly, barrel-chested, middle-aged men. That were probably just like, look, probably a scenario of everyone else is on shore leave. We gotta watch the boat. This sucks. Let's go below decks and drink a little. Oh shit, things went wrong. Right exactly when we needed them not to go wrong. Kind of scenario.
Not
Yeah.
only was, not only did they run into their superior, they ran into their superior when he was having a bad time.
Very mad.
having a bad
Yeah,
time.
Yeah, these guys are probably in trouble for a little while.
I approach the superior. I say, "Sir,
Uh,
Dive Master Cobb."
he squints at you. Yes, I took your names already. Unfortunate
Yes, sir.
Scorpion, your paperwork is complete. Feel free to do what it is you need to do.
Sir, recommending the rabble rousers for undersea duty. I have barnacles to clean, sir.
At first, he has no idea what the fuck you're talking about when you say undersea duty. But then you say you have barnacles you need cleaned, and he gets this devilish grin on his face and just kind of like tilts his head and nods and says, I think that is most fitting. Scraping off barnacles sucks. Real bad. Real bad.
Especially when you
Not
don't have
bad.
like scuba gear.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
down, come back up.
Yeah.
I said, "Come then, men," and I boot one of them into the water.
You just... These are pretty,
That
like,
one in
tall,
particular
portly
doesn't know how to
guys.
swim.
That's okay. I'm going in soon after.
That one doesn't know
I'm
how
a
to
rock.
swim. The other one is like, oh god! Shit, I have their names in a memento. Where is their names? Oh god!
They'll
Mauro!
learn.
And he jumps in after him. And there's a whole kerfuffle over that. And the dock authority kind of like nods and says, they need to be punished, so that seems like a good start. We'll put in the orders. I've got to get this paperwork back up to the office, so you all are good to go. If your ship's going to be in port for more than, we'll say, a day and a half, then we'll need you to... and he kind of like gestures out, and you can see most of the vessels in the naval yard are not at the docks. They're out a little ways into the bay in this portion that is sectioned off, and they're anchored, right? To make room so that vessels that need to be docked can dock and unload and do all that jazz. So he's basically giving you guys a day and a half before you need to move your car to more permanent parking kind of like scenario. So, and then he kind of like turns and moves on while these two guards are now looking over the dock at these two men who are mostly fine in the water. And it's at that point that Blackbird comes up. It's kind of has been here the whole time, but it's kind of been in the back just watching the commotion and seeing as things unfold. And she just kind of says, okay, well, that was introduction. I'm gonna go. I need to make my own reports, and then I will be reporting to the medical office. I hope it does not take long, but I imagine it will be a week or more at least before I am released. Thank you for the ride. She goes quiet for a second. Steps towards the gangplank as if she's going to leave, and then kind of pauses and turns and quietly, kind of just to you four, says, two things. If you hear anything dire about what might happen back on Amostra, I would appreciate if you let me know. And if you're gonna leave, if you're sent on mission before we get to speak again, I'd appreciate if you just sent me a missive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not a problem.
She just kind of nods and turns and begins crutching it down the dock.
Crutching it away.
You know? And it seems like things are pretty much wrapped up. Ambrosio comes up having collected a few of his things.
Did she last name? I think, Blackbird is...
You've gotten nothing other than Blackbird out of her. And Bansii, you know from Elvish naming conventions that Blackbird is likely one of two things. It is likely either a pseudonym that has nothing to do with her real name, or more likely it is a portion of her real name. Because it's very common for elves to have long names that are a thing, Banner of Light on a Quiet Sea, right? That kind of scenario. But it's very common for them to go by just a single part of their name, like Banner or Quiet Sea, right? And it's also pretty common that changes throughout their lifetime, right? A young elf might prefer to be referred to as one part of their name, and then as they age or something happens to them, they might decide that this other portion of their name suits them better, and they would like to be referred to as that. So, in the case of Blackbird, you have no idea. You did not get that information. She did not seem forthcoming with that information, which isn't especially strange. Many elves are relatively cagey about their full names, unless they're already especially well known. So she leaves. Ambrosio comes up, kind of like gives you a nod as he's passing you all, leaves, and it seems as if things are kind of finished here, and you're able to go report as you have been requested to report.
Let us go report.
And right before that happens, as you all are disembarking, Urila comes up to Bansii, and quietly, kind of like cocks her head over the side as if to motion you off away from the others. And do you follow, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow her over.
So she just takes you like 10 feet over, or just enough distance to where you can speak quietly, and she can kind of like pass you information without it being easily overheard. But she says, "Well, this is my stop. Thanks for the ride. About what we spoke about. I have a couple of people I plan on visiting here in the city, but there's one. Her name's Euchronia. She runs the Church of Saint Verona the Meek in the Mule District. And if you're interested in the things that we discussed, if you're interested in the things that I feel like I think you are interested in, then if you have some free time, maybe seek her out. She does a lot of good work in the community."
I will, thank you.
She nods.
Is there anything else you need before you go?
Oh, well, change my face, change my shape, give me a new background. I'd take 250,000 ducats. That'd be nice.
A lot of ducats.
A lot of ducats. But
That's a lot of ducats.
I would not need any more ducats after that. It would be a fine life. No, I'm good. I guess, if this was, and she says to you, and you can tell because of your prior conversation, she's trying to choose her words carefully. This was an unfortunate series of events, but it was exciting. And it is nice to occasionally have that kind of excitement. If you happen upon more exciting things that perhaps need some assistance, preferably with fire, find me in the city. I plan on being here for a while.
Need some fire assist.
We would be grateful, thank you.
And she nods, and she already has kind of like a very small satchel of the things that she owns, and she heads out. And I think Bansii, specifically for you, others might know this information, but it's probably less pertinent to them. Saint Verona the Meek is an incredibly popular saint. It is the Church of Saint Verona the Meek is probably the biggest church in Rioja. Certainly the biggest church in Capital. There are dozens of actual churches to Saint Verona the Meek in Capital. Probably hundreds of shrines throughout the city because the city is just so large. Saint Verona is a saint of charity. She is a people's saint for the people, right? A person who, before their sainthood, took care of the meek, the less fortunate, the impoverished, and because of that, and because of their ascension to sainthood, they are extremely well looked upon by the general populace as compared to by the, what's the term? The merchant class and the noble class and the ecclesiarchy and those types of things, right? Verona is a people's saint. So that, again, means that St. Verona is kind of the largest of the churches in Rioja, not necessarily the most powerful and most assuredly not the wealthiest, right? In that type of regard. But definitely looked upon with a lot of favor, right? And cutting off Jay before he gets to It's Always the Church. It is often the church. Corruption within the churches in Orden, within Rioja, within Capital, is not an unheard of thing, right? Obviously, there's going to be corruption in any kind of place, but corruption within the churches of Saint Verona is markedly lower comparatively because of who they are and what they do, right? So typically, if you hear about someone who's a part of the Church of Saint Verona, they tend to be good people.
Cool.
Isn't House of Verona who we work for?
House, yes, it is two different Veronas. Saint Verona.
Okay, that's too many Veronas.
Saint
Verona.
Saint Verona is Verona. House Verona is Vorona. And welcome to Capital, right? Welcome to Capital. Welcome to Rioja, where there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of massive families and various noble factions.
Okay, Monica with a K.
Exactly, 100%, right? Like, there's so many lineages. There are, in fact, fun note, there are entire organizations, dozens and dozens of organizations in Capital that all they do is research and authorize the lineage of various families. There's a common concept in Capital that all families in Capital are noble. It's just whether or not they're on top right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the families that are on top right now were not the families that were on top 100 years ago, or 200 years ago, or 300 years ago. And your family might be impoverished right now, but 500 years ago, they were wealthy landowners, and 200 years from now, they could be again. And thus the rat race of Capital, basically, is how that works. Anyways, bunch of random stuff. You are now all there. No one is going to come up to you and suddenly say another thing. Welcome to Poso. I am working on a map. I don't know that I.
A really, really busy port town?
This,
like a lot of people.
This is a pretty busy port town for this kind of like era, this society. It's about 20,000 people, which in this world is a pretty big city. Compared to Capital, it's nothing. But the vast majority of things, when compared to Capital, are nothing. However,
are there little street thieves running around?
Ever been in
definitely.
Be.
Well, probably not in this particular area, because this is the naval yard and the adjacent kind of like naval base, right? So things here are pretty well regulated, so you're probably not going to run into street thieves. But if you go into the inner city, you'll run into a few. If you go into the outer city, abso-fucking-lutely, there's going to be plenty. And the outer city is where the vast majority of the population is. So, my map is nowhere near complete, and I probably should not be spending as much time as I am on a map that might get used like twice. It might get used a whole bunch. I don't know. Maybe. Shut up. Anyways, instead, I give to you a beautiful representation of what a late medieval port city might look like, and we can sit on this. This is the view of Genoa. This is
looks a lot like Waterview.
This is a 16th century painting by Cristoforo de Grassi. So yeah, this is a little fun kind of like scenario. Obviously there are going to be differences, but this is a very kind of like similar vibe that you're going to get from the actual port city of Poso. There's a big bay. It's relatively well protected. The redoubt plus the fortifications plus a lighthouse over on the other end. There's a bunch of vessels, and you have this kind of like situation where there's more of like the the civilian side of things, and then there's the more military side of things, and there are, again, this kind of like inner city, outer city workings where the inner city is, middle class to wealthy businesses, that kind of thing. Plus the fortifications and the Navy administration buildings and everything like that. So things are more plotted out, and it's more open and has a wider feel to it, a nicer feel to it. And then you get into the inner city where everything is just slammed together and crowded as fuck, and there's 4 times as many people comparatively to the inner city, and it is what it is. So, anyways, you all are currently in the naval yard. It is a very short trip, kind of designed. All of the fronts of the naval yard kind of like lead into this one big thoroughfare, wide enough to where you could march like squadrons of soldiers down if need be, right? Kind of like a parade section. And that leads kind of curved up towards the fortification, and just outside of the main fortification here is a very large 4-story naval administration building, which is where you will be heading in order to report to Consul Haruda. Presuming that there isn't anything else that you want to do along the way, no pit stops or anything like that that you're attempting to make, you're not under any time constraints necessarily. You're expected to do your duty and report in ASAP, but no one necessarily has you on the clock right now, type thing.
How long are we going to be out to sea after this?
You have no idea.
Stop?
You have no idea what customarily, I say you have no idea. It is very unlikely that you immediately get assigned a detail or a mission to undertake immediately. You all have been out for probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks at this point. So it's typical that you would get at least 2 or 3 days of shore leave before something is assigned to you and you have to go back out and do whatever. It's possible that you get much more shore leave than that if things are kind of quiet, and it's also possible that you don't get sent out at all and you get commandeered to do something in the city or in the vicinity of the city, because as naval crew members, you're kind of at the whim of whoever in charge says what you gotta do, kind of thing. But most likely, following trends, you'll probably have a couple days of shore leave at the least to do stuff in.
Okay. I have a side quest.
Hell yeah. I love side quests. But
Okay,
that
so
sounds
Bansii-
like it's a scenario of you're willing to undertake the side quest later, or you want to try to start
I
undertaking the
need
side quest
Higgins'
now.
help.
Oh, okay.
I need Higgins' help. So Bansii will approach
Willing to
Higgins
help.
kind of sheepishly and hand him a recipe and ask if they have if he has all of the things for it.
That's it.
Take a look at the ingredients list. Well, what are we working with here?
So
I was gonna say, is that a question for me or is that a question for Bansii? I don't know. I don't know what this
For
recipe
me.
is.
Whoever knows.
it needs sugar and peanut butter and chocolate.
I have all of that, yes.
Okay, thank you. Never mind. Side quest is good.
The sugar you got loads of. The peanut butter you either have or you can get your hands on decently easily. The chocolate.
Well, so to be clear,
if
we don't
you
have
have-
peanut butter. We have peanuts. I'm gonna have to
Peanuts.
grind
Oh,
it up.
you're gonna make the peanut butter. That works, right? And that's why it's a thing of like, if you don't have it, you can get your hands on it because you can get the peanuts, right?
I feel
The
like
chocolate,
would probably be
I'm
the
willing to let you have some, but you don't have much. And getting your hands on more can be challenging. It could either cost you some money to get a decent quantity of it, or it might involve you seeing one of those criminal contacts.
I am a master chef.
Criminal.
You're not gonna
with
make no
informants
chocolate out of
everywhere.
cacao
I can
bean.
find chocolate. We're gonna find some chocolate.
I think the question though is how much chocolate does Bansii need? Is the thing.
Yeah,
Is
how
this
much do you actually need right
is
now?
this just like I just need enough chocolate for this one
Like,
sitting
are you making
of the
5
meal?
cookies? Or are you making 500 cookies?
That's the question. Yeah, that's the question.
I mean, I guess it depends on how long we're out to sea.
Okay.
know.
These are these are you trying to make ration
These are
cookies?
a treat. These are a treat for me.
Are you trying to get
I-
like
So Bansii
peanut butter
does not
brittle?
No. They're peanut butter blossom cookies.
Okay.
So Bansii
Okay.
doesn't really eat, but she likes these.
And this is
So
this is
she
like
would be very interested
this
in
is like
making sure that
Bonzi's
she can
treat
replenish
of
her
like,
cookie jar.
oh, I love that.
Do you feel guilty eating when you don't have to?
Absolutely.
Why didn't you tell
and
me
it's a
this
little
before I
embarrassing.
started perfecting a recipe?
I think
Recipe
it,
for cookies?
I could have perfected peanut butter blossom cookies.
I think in this particular instance, I think it's likely that Bansii knows the recipe well enough,
But
and
I could
it's simple enough that I don't think Higgins needs to perfect a recipe. And the concept of perfecting the
Everything.
recipe is basically like instilling the recipe with like an added benefit. Higgins can make these cookies. He just needs the stuff to make these cookies. Is the thing. They're not gonna give Bansii any bonus, but it's a comfort thing for Bansii.
It's a comfort thing.
Yeah.
It's something that she just likes while she's at sea and she's out.
And she's out. Oh no. When was your last cookie? Or yeah, when was your last cookie?
When was your last?
Has it been a couple days, or did you just like finish
It
the
was
jar?
probably on the way here.
Oh,
Probably
no.
opened the jar
Glucose
before
shake
we
or
got
what?
here.
You got the cookie shakes.
Okay, got the
I
cookie
got
shakes.
Cookie shakes.
I love it. I love
Shook
it.
up.
With Higgins.
Cool.
Make the cookies. Okay. Well, I have that notated. Cool.
About what time of day is it? When we come in?
I would say it probably is relatively early, right? You probably could have pushed through the evening of the third day and gotten here late at night, but then you just would have been kind of like sleeping on the ship anyways, waiting for, you know, actual people to be able to be awake and do what you needed to do. So my assumption is that you didn't try to push the last day and you just kind of like took it easy, and so it's relatively early in the morning.
Okay. So I'll tell you what, guys. If we get and turn in our report and get out before noon, we'll find a place to eat. On me. We'll enjoy some lunch. How's that sound?
Sounds pretty
Yes.
tasty.
I mean, Higgins, you'd have a
but-
break.
I was gonna
When's the
say,
last time
does
someone
that sound
cooked something
tasty
for
to
you?
Higgins? Or is
well,
Higgins gonna
to
find
be
himself in the
clear,
kitchen?
I have to cook something today.
What do you mean you have to?
How about some cookies?
I have to cook something that we eat today.
Or what?
like you don't have a
The
choice?
consequences cannot be discussed.
Oh, okay, so
Then
this is
let's
like the
make
thing
some
where
cookies.
you definitely poisoned us, but you give us the antidote every day.
And the second we stop
I love it.
eating
This is what this is.
food,
This
we
is, this is
die.
for sure what they did to the fucking Tuford Howitt on goddamn Dune. Goddamn
This is
Harkonnen,
very
you're Harkonnen.
important.
Oh my
that
God, he's a
I
Harkonnen.
could just a
He's
meal
a-
today.
Oh, he's a Harkonnen, dude. Oh my God.
Oh,
What's his
fuck.
race? What's it? Hold on. What is his race? It starts with an H, right?
Hakan.
Hakan?
Hakan.
Ah,
He's a
uh-huh.
Hakanen.
I've solved it.
Hakan
I've
is-
solved it.
Hanan.
I've cracked the code.
That is hilarious. I will say, notably, you all have spent at least a month with Higgins at this point. You never see him go a day without eating his own food.
Yeah, well.
He
Have we
occasionally
gone days
eats
without eating
other
his
people's
food?
food, but you've never seen him go a full day without eating something that he has made.
But
Are you
but
under
have
some kind of
we?
curse?
Have
Right,
you?
so Bansii
I,
doesn't
yeah,
eat.
I,
So she hasn't, but
100%.
has the
Yeah,
rest of the crew.
Yeah,
Okay, so it can't be that Harkonnen.
You don't know how. What if he poisoned us in the first meal, and every other meal has just been, just in case.
I
Don't
know,
like
man.
that silent grin over there.
Mitch, they discovered your
I
secret
think I'm like pretty
so
sure I've
quickly.
cracked the code.
So quickly.
Well, what are they going to do about it?
I mean, they don't really have much of a choice now, do they?
I guess not. Like, why not? Like,
The knowledge doesn't help. All right, sounds good. We got a couple things, couple ducks in a row. You all make your way.
No, but realistically, it's part of the Master Chef background. So
He loses
if
bonuses.
I don't,
Yeah.
I lose bonuses like those extra recoveries we get. We don't get those if we don't eat my meal.
And
And I
not
think you
only
actually
that, but
lose a
you
recovery.
get a malice if you
Yeah,
if you
like
go
I get
a day
I get
without
bad
eating your own
thing.
food. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because he
The
is.
first time
Just
each
Or
day
make
you
the
eat
cookies,
food,
it's
and-
fine.
Jeremy in tandem coming up with a diversion. Be like,
Oh yeah, that's
no,
what it
it's
is.
part of
I
the-
just
oh,
messaged
no,
him while
we
this
got
was
a
all going
mouse.
on and saying like, say this instead. Say this instead.
Yeah, I want to see this.
Yeah,
the DMs
so
right
it's-
now.
the drawback: the first time each day you eat food you didn't prepare, you lose 2 recoveries.
Jeez, that's
Okay,
So,
well,
like-
let's definitely make some cookies then.
So you
he's
guys
a
can
picky
eat
eater.
food, but I'm gonna make like a hoagie while you guys are eating.
Yeah, I will say I like the idea. I like the idea that to get around this, what Higgins can do is basically like doctor food. So like if he goes to a restaurant, he can order something, but then he has to like mess with it and fix it
Like
up.
I've
and,
got
hot
a
sauce
little
in his
like
bag.
I've got a fanny pack of spices
Yeah.
and
Okay.
like
Fanny
things to like doctor food.
Or like if you go to
like,
like an
"Here's my jar of
extravagant
jalapenos."
party and there's like a buffet table or something like that, you won't eat any single thing as it is. You have to like mix and match them to kind of like create something, and then it's okay for
Hey,
you.
I gotta find a portable stove. I gotta find like
Just
a little
carry
like,
around an
portable
easy
stove I
bake
can-
oven.
Yeah, I need to find myself an easy
Oh,
bake
God,
oven.
I don't know about an easy bake oven. That thing fucking
New
sucks.
quest.
New quest? Give me a
I had a
quest.
creepy crawler oven.
You're gonna talk shit about an
Um,
easy bake oven
you
and,
mean the
and
boy
retort with
It's the
having a
exact
creepy
same
crawler
thing.
oven?
Just one's
It is
green
the
and
exact
one's
same thing,
pink.
except it wasn't. You didn't eat what came out of it.
Terrible.
didn't you though?
I
Well, clearly you
mean,
didn't try hard enough.
if you were a true kid, you probably did.
Yeah, you're a
What
fake
was
kid,
the-
Jay.
The gel non-toxic.
I mean, let's be honest. Jay has been a
Surely it had
middle-aged
to
man
be.
for 40 years.
Believe that? Yeah, I do believe that.
Believe it.
Get off my lawn.
Believe it.
What- I swear to God, when I was like 20 and he was like 25, I heard this man say, "Get off my lawn." I swear.
I didn't own a lawn.
No,
Well,
that place back in
Well, maybe
Magnolia had
protected, I
a
guess.
kind of a lawn. It wasn't okay. It wasn't much of a lawn. It was like a hill.
Yeah.
It's like,
That was his hill to die on.
that was his
alright?
hill. It was his hill.
That-
Nah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You all make your way up the thoroughfare through the naval district to the naval administration building. And upon entering, it's a hive of activity. There's a bunch of shit going on here. There are the vast majority of people are in naval uniforms, right? Going to and fro. Most of the personnel that you see behind counters or desks are in naval personnel, but notably, and I think this is an important thing, is kind of akin to the Odysseus scenario. There are people here that are in civilian garb. Some of them are here to see someone, right? Like to coordinate or communicate with someone, ask after something, yada, yada, yada. But there are plenty of people here in civilian garb that are seemingly working, right? This is one of those types of operations. So if you think back to Parada, when you met with Princeps Ragash, Parada is a town of only like 2,000 people. The only people inside the naval administration building there were naval personnel, because there just wasn't enough happening to need or warrant civilians being there outside of specific circumstances, right? Here, this is a city of 20,000 people. There's enough shit going on that they need a lot of hands on deck to coordinate a lot of the various things that are happening. And that just means more people. Notably, there are servants here, right? So there are civilian servants that clean the place or do various errands or serve some of the higher authorities here in the Naval Administration building that you would not find in a smaller naval location, because they tend to try to keep that separated, not have civilian contractors involved, right? You arrive at the Naval Administration building. There's a bunch of different activity going on. You're able to kind of like check in, and upon letting the personnel that you're speaking to know who you want to communicate with, Consul Hirado, you kind of get this back and forth for a moment of, are you sure? Yes. Can I interest you in speaking to someone else? No. Are you positive?
Do we know
yes?
this person has a
right
history of being a...
You know this is the head honcho in Poso. This is the person, the consul is the individual that runs the administrative side of the Navy in the entirety of the archipelago. Right? Like, this is basically like the governor of the archipelago. Right? Like, this would be like the governor of a state kind of like scenario.
Okay.
Right? So you are captains of a vessel, right? But there are hundreds of captains of vessels, thousands of captains of vessels in the Navy. And you're waltzing in here being like, we want to speak to the head honcho. And this person isn't telling you no. They're just like, are you sure? Is this really what you want? Okay. All right. Sounds like a plan. And they take you up 3 floors to the 4th floor, where you are put in a waiting room with probably about a dozen other people. Large, not opulent or ostentatious, but wealthy, right? Like, nice furniture, some nice paintings on the wall, big open floor plan kind of like scenario. But into this waiting room with a dozen other people, and you wait for hours. Just
awesome.
Watching people come and
Love
go,
that for
and a lot of times, right? Like, there's this secretary kind of like figure behind this counter.
Oh no.
And
getting Dungeon Crawler Carl vibes.
you occasionally get, like, they will call out, and one of the people that is in the waiting room with you will stand, and they'll go down this little hallway into this office, and they're in there for a while, and they come out, and typically another person gets called, and blah, 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 blah. Occasionally, there will be people that just walk into the waiting room and do not sit down and wait, and just walk into the office that everyone is going into because they're apparently important enough to just do that. But it's relatively rare. There's only maybe like 3 or 4 people that do that through the hours that you're waiting. And as people come and go, or as people get called, do their thing, leave, more people arrive. This seems to be a thing that is going to be happening all day long. After about probably close to 3.5, close to 4 hours, your names get called, and you are called back into the office of Consul Miriam Harudo. And yeah. Anything anyone is doing, kind of like prior or immediately, like before going into this meeting with the consul? Any discussions that you're all having? Any, like, getting on the same page, or planning, or plotting, or anything like that?
I mean, I feel like we're probably on the same page, right? Like, the lizards were being controlled. There's no need to go to war with them and be punitive about it. The new people in charge seem to be on the up and up for the most part, at least not looking to fight us.
Bansii will have been grumpy for having to wait that long. Like, pretty kind of pissed off in a bad mood.
It's funny that the undead person has the least patience in the group.
Yeah, she'll already be a little pissed off that we were not deemed important enough to just go straight through. And so she'll be a little feisty.
Specifically by Ragash, was her name?
Yes, the Princeps Ragash of Parada. Yeah. And
so
Ragash would have given you some sort of like missive or something like that, entailing that she ordered your report to be hand delivered by you to the consul, right? So you're not going in without any.
I have that in hand.
Info. Yeah. Secondarily, are you all on the same page about the amber glaive that is in Higgins' possession? What's the position on that?
We get that identified or whatever, but we've not done that yet, have we?
No, you have not.
Well,
you haven't really had the opportunity
to ask where that is.
How do we know? Why does he need to know?
Why does he need to know? I agree. I align with this.
All right, cool. All right, let's not worry about it.
So is the plan to leave mention of the glaive out of things?
Yes.
Well,
yes, it is.
I don't remember the importance of this. I'm just irritable. So what was the thingy?
Lily herself is irritable about having to wait.
Lily herself is irritable. She's like, I can't believe that.
I cannot believe I just waited 4 hours.
And it went by in 30 seconds.
That's right.
I don't think we would know, but this is apparently a weapon of the gods or something?
So recapping information, right? When you met Ishla, right, who warned you about the death Rex and everything that was going on, she called what the weapon that the Death Rex was wielding, she called it a tool of the old gods. And that it had changed them, or tool of the old gods, singular, right? And that it had changed him, and you all kind of like conferred, and the amber eyes and everything about that, right? Like that whole situation. And then you fought the Death Rex and bested him, and in besting him, it did seem as if any of the remaining Tlatsiski that were there seemed to no longer be under the effects of whatever that was. Higgins claimed the amber glaive. you all have assumed that it is what Ishtla was speaking of. And you spoke kind of like briefly to Ragash about it in the concept that, hey, this is what we think was causing the issue. And Ragash was like, okay, if you've claimed that, if you want to keep it, you probably shouldn't go waving it around to anyone of higher authority, because they're probably gonna take it. And
Yeah.
if you mention it, it's one thing, but if you mention it, you're probably going to need an explanation for what happened to it. If you don't mention it, then you run the risk of someone else mentioning it, and then you being questioned later on down the road of, why didn't you disclose this information?
So I would
It's
say
a possibility.
that we don't mention it. And if it is mentioned, we can say that we do have it. Why do you need it?
Because I'm your superior officer, hand it over.
I like how Bansii...
Is it a superior officer?
The consul would be a
Yes.
superior officer, but in the future, who knows who might confront you over it, or if anyone ever will confront you over it. It's not a guarantee, it's just a possibility that Ragash warned you all about. Ragash
Okay, well,
seemed
wait,
pretty
wait.
certain of the concept of, like, if you go into the console, or in to meet the console, and you're like, here's this weapon that we think was afflicting the mind of the Tlatsiski, then the console is most assuredly going to be like, okay, give me that, we'll get that checked out, and you're never going to see it again.
So
But if
are
you
we,
don't...
what kind of party are we? Like, I guess Bansii would have no problem lying to authority that she doesn't deem trustworthy.
Sure.
So I ride this line of, like, chaos that I don't know that the rest of you do. So that's
Bansii's
where my
good. I'll make
question
it-
is, like...
Bansii's in the Navy, but Bansii isn't here to be in the Navy. Bansii's got business to take care of. Bansii just follows the rules
Bansii hates the Navy, but joined the Navy.
when things
Look,
need
I'll
to,
make this
you know.
real easy. I can make this real easy. I will make my character lie so that my friend Mitch can have a cool weapon.
Are you telling me the pirate normally wouldn't lie?
Yeah, you said that like with a capital P. It's
Sorry. Are you
You're
telling
like,
me
I'm not a pirate with a
the
capital P.
privateer wouldn't lie?
So I guess Bansii, how about this? If there's anyone that doesn't want to lie, why don't we, in the 3
Speak
hours
now,
that
or
we're
forever
sitting here,
hold your peace.
Sure.
no, in the 3 hours that we were sitting there, have decided to go either put it back on the ship with people we trust or hide it where we don't know where it is, so that we can say we don't know where it is.
I mean, if you want to keep it hidden, it's not a difficult thing for Higgins to... Higgins can still have it on his person. He's a very large person, and he could just keep it, like, wrapped, right? So it's easy enough to keep it out of eye shot. The major questions are, is anyone going to talk about it in discussions, / is it in the written report that Yuvik made?
I will say no, it's not in the report. The report would specifically say that the effects of the mind control were
You
dropped.
You just say there
once
was
the
an
death
amber-bladed
threats was
weapon
felled.
which broke during the battle.
I don't know. I'm just going to say that the mind control effect seemed to have been dropped whenever the death threats was felled.
I just love the
Which is true.
concept of, like, trying to see if players want to lie and how deep they want to dig into that lie with the concept that maybe it comes back in the future. Because remember, Captain Kauno was there. She saw everything that happened. So her account of the story is the thing that is going to potentially come back and challenge your account of the story.
That's fine. We'll just kill her then.
That's how you
Like
do
Heroes.
it, right? That's how one does it. All right.
That's what I was trying to get
Okay,
at.
if we're
It's
not in the
like,
Navy, now
where
we're
are we
pirates.
writing the line of evil or not? Sorry, Tiny, what'd you say?
I said, now we're
That
not in
was
the
my
Navy. now
goal
we're
to begin with.
Pirates. We're just gonna be pirates anyways. All right, sounds like a plan. Your names are called. You are brought back to a large, again, not opulent or ostentatious, but wealthy, right? A nice, spacious office, a couple of different seating arrangements. There's like a little sitting area with these two kind of like, you know, not especially comfortable looking, like love seat kind of like scenarios, right? Like small couches, and a tea table off to one side. There's a bunch of bookshelves. There's a little harpsichord in one corner of the room. And then there's a big central desk with kind of like the obligatory half moon of various chairs facing that desk. And then over on the other side, there's a bunch of these like glass cases of various different knickknacks and like keepsakes and things like that. Some framed photos, some tokens, trinkets, etc., etc. And behind the desk, kind of like, or not behind the desk, but behind the desk, but not seated, standing with her hand on the back of the chair is the consul, Miriam Dorado. She is a middle-aged Riojan woman, probably like late 40s, early 50s, somewhere in there. Her hair is cropped relatively short, just below her chin, which is Cobb and Bansii would know, which is very out of fashion in Riojan nobility. The current fashion is especially long hair, generally speaking, both for male and female. It's a mix of this kind of like dun and gray coloration. She has a big kind of like crease from a furrowed brow along her forehead, and slight weather lines around her eyes and the corners of her mouth from her age. Pretty deep brown eyes, dressed in administrative uniform, right? The long grayish white surcoat stamped with the symbol of House Hirado, and then just to the left of it and smaller below it is the symbol of the House of Verona, the symbol of the Navy, basically, that all naval officers have a stamp of. And then she's got these kind of like relatively long, or she's got these fitted grayish calfskin trousers, these relatively long black boots the trousers are tucked into. The boots have a pretty small heel. They're practical, right? And she's got this dark gray bolero jacket that covers her arms, wraps around her chest, and she has matching gloves covering her hands. There is not a piece of skin on this woman that shows below the neck, right? So everything from like this pretty like tight bolero collar here down, completely covered, no skin. And she is standing there relatively stately, this calm, kind of placid look on her face. You all come in, the secretary closes the door behind you, and she nods to each one of you in turn, kind of like studying you for a moment before gesturing to the various seats, though she notably does not sit down.
Bansii won't sit either.
Do you at least approach a chair, or do you just stay at the doorway?
Bansii will stay at the doorway. She'll lurk. She'll be a lurker.
She's a lurker.
Yuvik sits.
Parade rest.
Say what, Cobb?
I stand at parade rest.
Okay. So we've got like we've got a parade rest, we've got a lurker, we've got a sure I'll take a seat, and then we have a with Higgins.
I stand a step behind Yuvik.
You go butler mode behind Yuvik? Okay.
He's going butler mode.
After she's gestured for you all to sit, and you take your various places, you see her kind of like ever so slightly arch an eyebrow before she herself sits. Pulls her chair in slightly. And in a very kind of like calm but authoritative voice says, "Please introduce yourselves."
Yuvik?
Higgins, Pebbleworth. And I bow.
I hit her with a crisp salute. Cobb, ma'am.
And I am Bansii.
We are the crew of the unfortunate Scarfy.
Unfortunate.
You see
I
her.
can't help but say that every time it's said.
You see
game.
her look
I'm
down.
trying to be so intimidating. And then we say shit like that.
You see her look down at a piece of paper in front of her on the desk. She sighs very slightly, right? Nods. And there's I wanna look. Okay, you both have that. You do not have that. And you do have that. Higgins, Bansii, and Cobb, roll me power rolls. And you're going to add your read person skill.
Awa!
9 plus whatever that is. Where do I locate that?
You have a +3 to your read person, so you got a 12.
I still want to know where I locate that.
I locate it by hovering over your character profile in my character list, and it shows me under your skills what you have.
Skills.
My skills.
I tried clicking it. It didn't work.
You might have to
I
click
see
and
I
drag.
have the skill. I don't know what I add to it.
You have a +2.
Oh, you can actually just like click the word might, and it tries to prep a roll.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
nice.
The word might? Where is that?
Yeah.
Alright, whatever. I give up. I just let Jeremy figure it out.
I mean, I see it under my skills. I just don't see where I could see a modifier.
I can't find skills.
Take a look at your character sheet.
Oh, I found it. I found interpersonal. I see that. Why do I have a +3?
Is that what it is? How would you know?
That's my question.
You have a +3. Bansii also has a +3. Likely, my assumption is that you have a +3 probably because it's an intuition skill, and you have a 2 in intuition, and then you probably get a +1 because it's a skill you have trained. So that would be my assumption of why you get a +3, is those two added together, which would make sense because Higgins only has a +2 and he only has 1 intuition. I still need a roll from you, Lily.
I thought I did, but see, I'm like trying to figure out with the log. Is it like the bottom of it is the most recent?
Bottom is most recent. Yeah.
So I rolled a 10.
Was that? No, that was from earlier.
Oh, okay. Never
Yeah,
mind.
that was from earlier. Roll again. Ah, 9. Okay.
+3.
So 12, 12, and 12. You all three got 12s. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
There is a noticeable, right, like she has a very calm demeanor. She is a consul. She is the highest authority figure on the administrative side of the Navy. The only figures that are higher than a consul in the Navy are an admiral, who is over both the administrative side and the military side, and then the Duke Verona, right? Those are the only people that are higher on the totem pole than a consul. Vice admirals are kind of equal-ish on the total to consuls, but they're not higher, right? And in the first 45 seconds of you all entering her chambers, you have not really done as she asked, right? Like the motioning for you all to be seated. More than half of you did not sit. You kind of made your own decisions about things. There was some military decorum in your introductions, but not for most of you. You three note this, and you note that she still has a calm reaction to this. But you note beyond that she seems to be waiting after each of you introduce yourselves, as if she is waiting for something she is hoping not to hear. Right? You don't know what that might be, but regardless, she seems to not hear whatever it is that she is hoping not to hear. Nods and says, "Indeed, the captains of the Scorpion. Understood. Why is it you needed to see me specifically?"
We received orders from Prince Ragash from Puoso, and I'll hand her the missive that Ragash gave me.
She will take it, kind of flips it open, and it indeed is just a very simple but explicit missive from Ragash, stamped with Ragash's personal seal, that the bearers of this missive are basically like undertaking a mission that requires them to report directly to the consul, right? It has no other information, so the Miriam Haruto just kind of like grunts, sets it to the side, and says, "Okay, and?"
There was an incident with the lizard folk and at one of our outposts where they attacked us.
You see she sighs.
Here, I wrote a report, and I'll let you read this when you have time. But the short of it is, we believe
she takes the report and immediately starts reading.
Okay, I will see the. I'll shut up and not break your concentration.
You're free to keep talking, but like you say, when she has time, she immediately starts reading. You see a few moments after she starts reading, she kind of like cocks her head to the side, pauses, looks up, looks back down, keeps reading. Gets about halfway through. Looks to you, Uvix, since you were the one who handed over the missive and the report, and says, clarification. I am familiar with a tribe called the Tlatsiski Miktok on Amostra. This report has it labeled as plot, PL, not TL.
My apologies. I was not I've never seen.
I'd
the
like to
name in writing.
reevaluate our lie to this lady plan.
No, she just like kind of shrugs and says, "It's of no concern. We
Immediately
are
reevaluate that.
new people in a new land. These are not our languages. These types of clerical errors are extremely common. I only mention it to verify that I'm not now dealing with a second unknown tribe. And you,
I don't think that's the case.
my reap person people hear her say the word tribe really hard. And notably,
She don't like them.
I, as a DM, I have fucked this up a couple of times throughout the campaign as we have played it so far. But I've tried to like reinforce it each time I notice that I've messed up. But the Quetzalcoatl, specifically in your dealings with the Tlatsiski, refer to themselves as a clan, and the people that work with them or interface with them refer to them as a clan. And Miriam seems to be very specifically referring to them as a tribe. And there's a little bit of nasty on the way that she says it, right? Like there is a little bit of like distaste in how hard she enunciates the word. But regardless of that, right? Like she kind of like hand waves your clerical mistake, right? In saying like happens all the time, not something that we have to. I'm happier knowing that this is a clerical mistake than I would be knowing that there is a second, as to yet unknown tribe that we are now facing on Amostra.
I do not believe that's the case.
She keeps reading.
Should be good on that end. I will say there was another captain present, Captain Kuono, and I believe we may have different.
She kind of taps the paper, presumably right, like in a location where you have listed the name Captain Kuono, right? And nods, not looking up from the paper, but still clearly listening to you.
Yep. And I believe she may have a different interpretation of the events that happened.
I would not be surprised. Kuno is very spirited in her opinions of the peoples we interact with here in. And she will not refer to it as Lilac. She'll say Redemoinho Ilias, right? Like she'll use its actual title.
I also share that opinion. I believe she's going to call for retaliation.
You say that. You say, I also share that opinion. And her eyes do flicker up from the page for a very brief moment at you to see exactly what you're going to say. And you have this brief reminder from Ragash, right? On the caution of not stepping into political games.
She got friends.
And this is a very, like, Cobb and Bansii understand this very well at this point. Higgins and Uvik, maybe not so much, but you all, as players, I will reinforce this concept of Capital being the city of the great game that is on the brink of open warfare within itself as various factions vie over who will be the next prince to rule Capital, right? While the rest of the world is dealing with this worldwide conqueror, Capital's like, we don't give two shits about that. We want to know who's going to be the next prince because that's the real power of the world, right? So you're now talking to a consul, which is very high up the pecking order in one of the main factions. You've stepped in, whether you're really involved or not, you've stepped into the political arena now. And so everything you say is being analyzed.
So Bansii probably would know that. Would Bansii know, just based on like her read person ability, if this person was vying for more power in that way?
I think Bansii would assume that every Ryohan is vying for more power when it makes sense. Now, different people have different ambitions, and there are good people that have no ambitions at all that exist in Capital. But the vast majority, Ryohans are... It is very much a rat race. It is that reoccurring concept of like, anyone can make it. These people are on top right now, but their family wasn't on top 100 years ago. 200 years ago, my family was one of the most powerful families that ever existed, right? Everyone, even the poorest commoners in Capital, have that kind of like high opinion of themselves and their lineage, right? So like, it would be far more surprising if this console didn't have some sort of ambitions, but you have no way of knowing what they are without having more information.
Do you think that in order to be in our said navy, we would have learned along the line when to keep our mouths shut, or is that something only Bansii would be able to do? Sorry, Bansii and Cobb would be able to do from having lived in the capital.
Oh no, definitely. I would say so it's a bit of a mixed bag there. Normal members of the Navy absolutely probably go through, much like any military, go through the breaking down and building back up phase where they learn to follow orders and keep their mouths shut, right? But you all are not typical members of the Navy because you were brought in as Navy auxiliaries. You're just skilled enough to have earned a position as Spar Mariners, right? Because of your various abilities, etc., you're skilled enough to have learned that. Probably Cobb is the only person who may have interacted with any sort of that kind of like, boot campy style, like learn to keep your mouth shut, learn to, follow orders kind of thing. The rest of you probably got the very like quick and light version of it. Bansii, you're probably more familiar with it because of being a Capital native and knowing how the great game is played, right? Like, information just, for example, right, like, if Yuvik, he didn't, but if Yuvik had been disparaging towards Captain Kono in the way that he responded to Miriam just then, that would have been, from the standards of the great game, that would have been information that Miriam had about Yuvik as a person and his opinions and his connections to Captain Kono that she might, in the great game, be able to use yada 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 further and further.
I think what I'm trying to get to is the faux pas that we've done thus far of not sitting, not addressing her as she's used to, not, you know what I mean? I'm sure the report isn't written as she would expect it to be, right? Like, are those faux pas forgivable because of our background, or are they we've made mistakes and she's going to use that when it comes to us and dealing with us?
That depends entirely on the person, and I would say you all have heard good things about Miriam Haruto, right? If you were in the presence of someone else, yeah, you might have just put your foot in it, right? Like, absolutely. Just like walking into the office of a person who has a lot of power and expects everyone to do exactly as they say and not taking a seat when they proffer seats to you, that might have just pissed off the wrong person. Miriam Haruto doesn't have the reputation of that being who she is. So I would say, Bansii, I don't think you would feel like y'all are fucked, right? Like you've already fucked up type thing. But you are probably treading a thin line, right? Because there's a thin line between like propriety and decorum, what's expected of you type thing, and what is allowable and forgivable, versus what is just downright like rude. And
Okay. And then last question. Would
Yeah.
Bansii be sensing that line approaching with like the talking that we're doing thus far and feel the need to step up?
I'd say roll me another read person.
I think last time it was just a modifier. Is it just another power roll?
Yeah, another power roll. Yep. Ooh, okay. 11 plus 3 is going to be a 14. I would say Bansii, I don't think Bansii gets the this woman affects an air of calmness and confidence and an air of a woman who just had, you saw in the last 4 hours, probably 20 different people come and go from this office. And some of them were, dressed down like you guys. Some of them were very official. Some of them look super important, right? So, like, this woman seems as if she deals with all kinds of people all day, day in, day out. And you didn't see anyone get thrown out. You didn't see any guards get called, anyone kicking or screaming or anything like that. This woman probably has a lot of patience. But it might be good to err on the side of caution depending on what you're expecting to get out of this interaction. Basically.
Okay.
So
Cool.
what?
Okay, sorry. That was a big rabbit hole.
No. I think this is important. This is interesting stuff, and you're the one asking the questions right now, but everyone else is getting this information too, right? Like, this is all pertinent information to players as a whole, right? So, it is around this time, right? Like, after she kind of like flickers her eyes up at Yuvik in response to the whole Captain Kouno thing, that she finishes reading the report and sets it down on the table, and kind of like steeples her hands together against her chest, leans back slightly and looks again kind of at all of you, but primarily at Yuvik, who's doing the majority of the talking and also has the hulking stone guy behind him, right? Looks over at you and says, by the contents of your report and the comments of your belief in Captain Kouno holding a different opinion of things, I feel as if I can deduce that your intention here is to try to head off any potential punitive. And as she says the word punitive, the door just opens to her room, her office. And you see striding in, without a care in the world, no like words, no like greeting, just walks into the fucking room, and you can see kind of like down, like heads turn, you see down the room, down the short hall, you see that secretary who's kind of like standing there, like looking past, just like eesh, kind of like very, oh fuck. You see this tall, relatively thin man, with the physique of which is in keeping with the current trend of nobility in capital, with the concept that excess is seen as gauche. He has this long, dark brown hair, the long hair again being in keeping with current trends among the nobility, down to about mid-shoulder length. It's streaked with gray, beginning to kind of show his age a little bit. He has these very sharp, hawkish features, a slightly elongated, kind of like little hooked nose, slightly pointed chin. He's got the kind of like musketeer Frenchman, kind of like triangular mustache points, right? Just barely coming on, not elongated or anything, just like right there. But with the very clear
Gomez
kind of
Adam
like gap
kinda...
in between them. Yes, yeah, absolutely. And he's got this. He comes in very nonchalant, but with this very wide, toothy smile. His attire, conversely to his kind of like seeming body language and attitude, is very practical and above board, right? Very prepared for his duties. Very dark clothing, simple pantaloons, a fitted black and silver doublet, and these kind of like very, practical gloves. Not made of any silken material or anything like that. They're padded, hard leather, look like they've been used, right? But very clearly pinned upon his breast are the symbols of House Valderas, and larger than the symbol that Miriam has of House Verona is adjacent to the symbol of House Valderas on his doublet is the symbol of House Verona, as this is Sebastian Valderas, the Vice Admiral, commander of the HED Bulge that you saw in the bay, and being an equal to Miriam of a sorts. He walks into her office. The door kind of like, he does not close the door. The door kind of like casually closes, but doesn't like fully close behind him. He doesn't seem to care. He walks over to the side, where there is this kind of like little shelf, this little drink shelf, right? Immediately goes about like pouring himself a little snifter of brandy, or some other dark liquor, and doesn't say anything. Doesn't seem to notice or interact with any of you. Just kind of barges in and does his thing.
What does she do?
She pauses as he enters. Well, kind of like tracks him with her eyes. Looks back at all of you and keeps speaking. Says, my assumption is your intention is to head off any potential punitive measures that you believe are not forthcoming to the situation. Am I reading that correctly?
What? Punitive
Yes, ma'am.
measures?
Like
Yeah.
going after the tribe.
Yeah, talking about them
I believe
mounting a
that,
punitive response to the
retaliation
Tlexisky.
I believe that retaliation is just going to lead to unnecessary deaths and permanent damage to who could be trading allies.
Unnecessary. There's more unnecessary deaths on their side than ours, I would say.
That's the other guy.
That's the other guy.
No, that's still Miriam. She's just
Yeah,
I look like this now.
She full 180s on you, just like completely shifts gears.
playing us the
She
whole
still says
time.
nothing to him? Ugh.
She does not acknowledge his outburst. Cobb, I'm gonna ask a question of Cobb. Cobb, Master Diver, seems
Master Diver.
salt of the earth, or maybe salt of the sea, given the situation, right?
Definitely of the earth, yes.
How involved, how caring is Cobb about something like the great game or the political machinations of a place like Capital? Does Cobb even pay attention to that shit? Would he know
Very little.
various names outside of like certain scenarios, or is he really
No.
involved? Does he find it fascinating?
No, I know all three of the triumvirate of divers and the top 5 breath holders.
So
And,
you're
the
a
number
wealth
one
of knowledge
hyper
about
tumbler.
people that no one else knows about. Gotcha.
Yes.
So, conversely, Higgins would be very interested in it.
Well, Higgins went to the
specifically
college
because
of
the school he went to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think
so
my other
he's very interested in it, and I was just gonna say the first thing that Higgins would be doing when this guy entered the room is trying to read what kind of a noble he is. Is he the I know I'm rich, I know I'm famous, I don't need people to tell me? Is he the I like to be pampered, I want people to acknowledge my status?
Sure.
What kind of noble do I get a vibe, or do I know about him?
We're gonna make a check. I want you to roll a power roll for me, and while that is happening, I'm gonna pose basically the same question that I posed to Cobb to Bansii, right? Also being a Capital native, Bansii, how much does Bansii care about the political machinations of the Great Game? How much does she listen about the moves of the houses? Outside of like, because everyone in Capital hears about this stuff. You can't be anywhere in Capital without hearing about what's going on. But how much does Bansii listen is the question. Does she care about that? Is that something she keeps track of?
I think she would listen a lot, especially as a watch officer. She would have had like a vested interest in the local government.
Sure.
And like who's in charge and who has power, and like on the opposite side, like who is opposed to the power, right?
Sure.
Like she should know and be interested in that. And then also she probably has not ruled out that the burning of the hospital was not political.
So
she might be suspicious.
She's got multiple
of
layers.
leadership.
Yeah, she has multiple layers of interest. One is a professional interest in just being able to understand and being good at her job and everything like that. And then one is the other is this kind of like motive for revenge, right? Or justice, right? Depending on which lens you're looking at it through. I think that is very interesting. Yuvik, I think, is pretty brand fucking new to Capital, and just getting a taste of what is going on in the city and what matters to these people. So I think Yuvik is maybe not a duck out of water, but pretty close kind of like situation.
The Yuvik is at least intelligent enough to know that the fact that this dude didn't get fucking chewed out for what he did means that he's pretty high up the food chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Higgins, going to your roll, 15. I think we're gonna add your plus. I think we're gonna add a +2, but this +2 could come from a couple of different places, right? This +2 could come from your reading of people, but also come from your knowledge of the world, your criminal contacts, your background at the college of what the fuck is it called? The college of
I'm gonna look it up because I cannot remember either.
Right. Well, where you received a goodly portion of your training, but then you were kind of like disavowed, that whole scenario, because that would all be extremely pertinent information. I'm gonna say you have never met this person, but you know who this person is. You know who Sebastian Valderas is. You know that he is seen as an extremely ambitious person. And to kind of like answer your questions and go for the read that you're going for, he is a noble's noble. He is doing in the right company, he does the right things. The way his hair is done, the way in which he bears himself, the especially kind of like thinness of his figure right now. Those are all trends within the nobility. That is what is popular in the nobility right now, which shows that he is a man who keeps track of what is popular in the nobility and cares enough to affect that in his look, in his bearing, right? On the flip side, he is not wearing what any noble in capital would be wearing outside of a military officer. He's dressed as if he could walk onto his fucking galleon right now and take that thing out of port and go fight some pirates or lead a war, right? Like, he is dressed practically. It's good clothing, it's wealthy clothing, but none of it is ostentatious. You look like his boots,
He's
flat.
stylish, but not a fop.
Right, at 100%. He looks to you like a man who is playing both sides. He is a military man. He understands what he needs to do, but he is also, at the same time, putting in the effort to be a nobleman of high bearing and stature, and one who, I think I mentioned this already, I might not have mentioned this already, but I think I mentioned this last time, but one who is married into House Verona.
Okay. What was his name again?
Sebastian Valderas. Valderas. And I would go even further to characterize Higgins. His outburst, the way in which he responded, you watch his face as he speaks. You're not sure on that 17. You're not sure he personally believes the words that he is saying. He is saying them
He's
because
saying what people
that
would
is
expect him
what
to say.
a nobleman of capital should be saying in this instance. We could take these tribesmen. We might lose a few of ours, but they'll lose their whole tribe. It's nothing. Right? Like that bravado, that we're better kind of like thing. Right? Like, that is very much capital. Right? Like, the bravado is very much capital. The greatest city in this or any age. It's not the rest of the world that says that about capital. It's capital that says that about capital. Right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's a lot of truth
Sounds
to
very
it.
familiar.
There's a lot of truth to it. They're not completely wrong by any stretch of the imagination. But they're the ones that say that.
Yeah.
So, again, a bunch of like underlying context that everyone is kind of like getting used to and seeing as this kind of like all unfolds. Valderas says this, but he doesn't push further. He just, here's this bravado, interjection, and then he goes back to drinking the little drink that he's poured for himself. Miriam nods as if that is the polite thing to do in response to the Vice Admiral's comment, and says, "Be that as it may, I do not see whether..." What's the phrasing she would use? "I see nothing to be gained by undertaking a punitive stance against these Platsiski. You all recently were in Parada. Tell me, do the towns' defensives seem acceptable?"
Which one was Platsiski? Was that the fort we went to, or was that the city that we
Parada,
returned to?
Parada is the town where you met Ragash.
was.
So Grinnell is the place that got sieged and like attacked and everything like that. Parada is the place that y'all sailed downriver to and turned in all the refugees, met with Ragash, and then left from. And it's a small town, but it's got walled palisades, it's got a garrison, it's got, people. And I think some of you have probably more military experience than others. Cobb, probably you have the most military experience in this style of military. And realistically, none of you know how large the clan of the Tlatsiski is. If the entire clan mobilized for war, yeah, they'd probably take the town, but that's incredibly unlikely. Like, they don't fight that way. They're not an open field army. They're ambushers. There's hunters, right? Like, they live in the jungle. They're not fighting open engagements. And if they were to try to do something like that to Parada, the town could probably hold for quite a while, and you've all already seen it only takes like 3 days to get there. Like, there could be a relief force in Parada easily before the Tlatsiski could take it, unless something happened, or unless they came in like overwhelming force and just set fire to literally everything, right? Like, you know, which, again, you're kind of like being advocates for peace here because you don't believe the Tlatsiski would do that. You have no reason to believe that they would do that. And sure as hell, there's no way a smaller force of the Tlatsiski could take the town. Even if there were, like, a couple of holdovers that were angry and militant, there's no way a smaller force could take the town.
Wholly sufficient, man.
She nods. And she says, that is what I expected. I believe we have other more pressing concerns at this moment. And another drink, another outburst from Valderas. He says, aye! Those damn fulcrum! Bastioia gets larger by the day, Miriam. What are we going to do?
Summon the goat.
And there's the
goat?
the goat, Miriam,
Sorry?
the goat,
Yeah, Miriam Dom.
Miriam the goat, Miriam Dom.
No. Competente!
I've realized that I've already used
so
multiple like names from media accidentally as I'm creating things. Anyways, Miriam finally like turns and looks over at Sebastian. She doesn't respond. She just kind of sighs. All of you, I think, know. Again, players don't have this knowledge. I think the characters have this knowledge. More or less, right? You will have at least heard. You know who the Fulcrum is, right? The Fulcrum is another one of the factions. They're basically the trade guilds of Capital, right? They're another in one of the 7 factions of the city. But Bastioia, that one's a mouthful, is basically their big city here in Little Ix. It's not as big as Pouso is, but it's clearly, by Valderas's words, getting bigger. Which means that the Fulcrum is exerting more power and influence and control within the archipelago, right? And he's just openly, like, saying, right, like, what are we gonna do about this, right? Like, this is a problem. We should have a plan. And Miriam, you see, sighs, turns, grunts, nods at him, and says, yes, I believe that would be wise, Valderas. And then doesn't say anything else on the matter. And he nods and grunts like something has happened, takes a drink, and again, just doesn't say anything.
I've gotten the response I wanted.
Absolutely. I've said the thing that I should say in the moment, and that's all that I care to do about that. I don't actually want to make a plan. I'm not, like, doing anything here. That's just, I've said the expected thing that can be reported, or I can report on it. What's supposed to happen is happening. And Miriam kind of just nods at that, turns to all of you, and says, there was mention of a mind control of some sorts happening. Could you explain that a little bit more?
There was a death rex that once we failed.
I gotta do it. I'm sorry. You say that, and
That
Valderus kind of like Valderus. Ha! Death Rex. Tell me he's dead. That would make the story.
Yes, he fell. And once he did,
Rex Slayer, and he gestures at Yuvik.
I don't actually remember who
it was a group effort.
Who killed the Death Rex?
I have no memory of that.
Uh-oh.
It had to be Mitch, right?
Uh-oh.
It had to be Mitch.
I don't think
Mitch
it was
participated
me
at all.
because I was murdering the back
no,
line
you went up to
when
help
you guys
the
were
guys
fighting the
up
Death
on the-
Rex.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Bansii? Am I crazy?
Did Bansii?
It might have been me.
Uh-oh.
I don't
May
remember.
have been.
We might have to go check.
I don't know.
So he'll gesture to me, and then I'll gesture her.
Group effort.
You see him look over, and his eyes kind of like widen, and then they narrow, and then they widen, and then they narrow, and then they widen, and then they narrow.
At
And
Bansii?
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
got to be careful. She is a wrathful spirit.
Higgins.
So she will
And I
narrow
think
her eyes
Bansii-
right back.
Higgins and Bansii both. Easy scenario here. This man is looking at this undead woman, not as if there's any issue with the concept of this undead woman being the one who killed the Death Rex. You see him squinting as if looking for recognition of, are you House Valletta? Do I know you? Should I know you? You're not House Valletta. Maybe you are House Valletta. Right? House Valletta being the seventh faction, the undead faction, the faction that used to be the taxman, the treasury of capital, that in a single night was turned from living to undead. And this is something that Bansii has had to deal with basically since she became undead. Was, are you associated with House Valletta? Are you involved with House Valletta? Should we know about you? Rinse, repeat. Right? So you see this all like happen as Valderus kind of like finally acknowledges the dead person in the room and is like, This is.
He's speaking of
And then he smiles widely after this kind of like brief moment of like, do I recognize you? Should I recognize you? Question marks. He smiles widely and says, Death Rex Slayer, a grand title.
Great title, not gonna lie.
Bansii earns the title Death Rex Slayer, as she is now recognized as the slayer of Shitamikte, of the Death Rex.
We should check the tape.
We should check the tape.
To whoever actually did it.
We might retcon this whole thing, but for now, the canon is that Bansii gets recognized as the Death Rex Slayer, which is going to come with the title, and that title will come with some sort of mechanical benefit.
Yep.
Welcome.
The Draw Steel thing.
Titles in Draw Steel are things that you actually earn and are things that actually do things.
Cool.
But yes, after the Death Rex was slain, visibly the orange or amber color in the tribe's eyes faded, and they immediately ceased combat and fled.
You see Miriam kind of like leans forward, kind of like looking down at that report, and taps that kind of portion where you had put that information into the report, nodding as you kind of say it. Interesting. That is good. Have you knowledge of how this Death Rex was enacting this control? There's a brief
nothing
pause. There's a brief pause, and before Yuvik can get a word out, there's another ha! Dark rituals, no doubt. Heinous.
Right you are, my lord. They were at an altar with several sacrifices there.
Oh, disgusting. Brutish, I tell
It's
you.
a shame we weren't able to get there sooner. We did lose some people.
He grunts and looks over at Miriam. And I gotta find a thing, because I think I misplaced it. Uno momento. Over here? Ta 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 ta. What is the name of these people? It's there. He looks at Miriam and he says, at the very least, the Topostli never went that far. And the two of them kind of like share a moment and kind of like nod at each other. And there's very clearly been this kind of like back and forth between them in the concept of like political machinations of they do not seem to be individuals that are on the same side. You don't know what their sides are, what their thoughts or opinions are necessarily. Welcome to the great game. But very clearly they have this kind of like back and forth tete-a-tete where it's like they don't seem to be on the same side as each other. But there is this moment right there where they do share kind of like a agreement with one another. And I think probably the only person who recognizes the name Topostli is Cobb, because Cobb has been here the longest. The Topostli are another tribe of Tetzalcoatl that were on this island, on Guaxinim. They did not have very peaceful interactions initially with the first landing, and it came to open warfare. About 6 months into the kind of like initial foray into the archipelago, the Navy fielded a legitimate army against them, and they fought in open battle, and it went very badly. It went pretty rough for both sides, but the Topostli were soundly defeated, and they were pushed back from what they considered to be their lands, and they're now holed up in like the southern portion of this island. So that moment passes between them before, like Sebastian's outburst or interjection. There's a moment that passes between them, and then Miriam kind of like looks back to you, Yuvik, as kind of like gives you this nod of like continue, because you got interrupted basically.
Right. But yeah, afterwards, like I said, there was no more resistance. They fled, and I also mentioned in the report that we spoke to one of the members of the tribe that suggested as such. So, because of the corroboration between her and how things played out, it just seems like there's some foul magic afoot.
How much information
And,
about Ishla did you put into the report?
Not like a whole lot, just that, she was, let's see, what did I put in my...
Did you put name, and did you put kind of like who or what she was?
Yes, I said that her name was Ishla. She is a Tetzalcoatl who informed us about what was happening with her tribe.
Okay, so Miriam has a little more
I'll pretty much leave it
context.
at that.
Miriam has a little more context, but it's not Miriam who responds, it's Valderos, and his bravado is notably toned down. He says, you spoke to her. She's speaking for her tribe, if she's speaking for her clan, You spoke to a matron.
I'm trying to use the same verbiage as the people I'm talking to, and now that there are people using different verbiage, it's gonna be a problem.
Welcome to it being confusing and a pain in the ass. He seems, his bravado tones down. He uses the terminology clan, and he asks you basically point blank, did you speak to a matron?
She spoke to me.
He turns back, and that kind of like his face, his wide smile had kind of like narrowed into almost kind of like pursed lips. He when he looks over at you, Bansii, that just like a crooked moon, the left side of his face just kind of like curves up into a grin. Ah, spoke to the slayer of the Deathrex. I'm assuming before, but perhaps the matron knew what would come. She said to you?
I don't remember everything she said to me.
Ah, come now, you must retain the gist of it.
She said that her people were not themselves
Ah.
and asked for our help.
Ah. Noticeable switch flipped. Right? The first thing you said, her people are not herself. He looks as if he's about to say something boisterous in response to it. And then, before he says anything, you said, she asked for our help. He stops. And gives you this kind
I
of
want to
like
switch what I
curt
said
nod.
to my help. She asked for my help.
It does not change his response.
Cool.
It seems more the concept of a matron asking for help seems to have halted his boisterous response. And he kind of like grunts and nods and goes back to his drink.
Bansii will ask him why he reacted that way.
He kind of pauses and looks around. He points to himself, right? Looks over at
Does it
Miriam.
surprise you?
Looks over at Miriam as if surprised. Ha ha! You have interesting crewmen here in the Isles.
Oh, I'm being too bold.
Perhaps. Perhaps not, right? Like, again, depends entirely on the person. It's a hard judgment call. He might like this. He might not. He might like this, and he still might use it against you. You never know, right?
Okay.
But he kind of like smiles at Miriam, who is still completely flat-faced, and like looks at you and says, "Matrons, they're mothers of the clans. In truth, the Deathrex may lead them, especially in matters of hunt and war. But the matrons are the heart of their people. The heart of a people to come to another, ask for aid. Ah, that has the smack of truth to it." And he says this to you, and Miriam kind of like sighs. Yes, well, this has been a most interesting situation. Your report has been given, and as it seems you are at least somewhat concerned about the issue, I can tell you, as of this moment, there are no intentions on any punitive force being launched against the Tlatsis. Should new information come to light, perhaps that will be reviewed. But at this moment, it gains us nothing. Perhaps, she looks over at the Vice Admiral, we should revisit our charters of peace and perhaps get something a little more solid on the sheets. You see him grunt and grin, shake his head a little bit, and says, "On the sheets. Yes, you do that and it'll be in the sheets by afternoon." Again, another capital trivia, that Yuvik will be the only person that does not really understand what the fuck that means. Another faction within Capital is the Broadsheet Guild. The Broadsheets are an innovation that exists nowhere else in the world. They are basically like a daily newspaper in the medieval era that exists in this city.
The sheets, God.
And because of that, yeah, they're referred to as the sheets, right? Because of their information, and more specifically, the ability to spread information, they are an incredibly wealthy faction, as people will pay a lot of money to get what they want said into the sheets. And everyone in Capital, air quotes, right? Because it's absolutely not everyone, but everyone in Capital reads the sheets, right?
Of course they do.
Of course. They must know what's going on in Capital, most importantly, but around the world in Capital's vested interests. And Little Ix is definitely in Capital's vested interests. Miriam just kind of nods and says, "Yes, well, that's a discussion for another time. You four, thank you for your reports. I believe it has been some weeks since you were sent out on mission. Consider yourselves on shore leave for the next 3 days."
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
She gestures towards the door.
I'll kind of give a short bell to her, and I'll look to Sebastian and do the same, and then 180 walk out.
I'll wait.
I follow suit.
Tell me, Elf. Was it a solid killing blow?
Like lightning from the heavens.
I was gonna say it was probably acid rain that came down from the heavens.
That sounds very painful. do you?
I was gonna say, based on my abilities, he was
decisive.
either sucked into a void and killed, or
we're gonna have to check the
was
VODs.
destroyed by acid rain.
We gotta check the VODs. He kind of grimaces, right, at Bansii's reply.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
Hard way to go. Did you keep a trophy? His head?
No.
Or claw, perhaps?
I talked about putting his head on Roach and riding him around.
You'll regret that later. You keep trophies of your conquests. Good to remember things by. Better to spread your tale.
My memory is
He's
perfect.
played The Witcher 3 before.
Eyes you at that statement. My memory is perfect. Eyes you up and down. I bet it is. Good day to you and yours. And he kind of like turns towards Miriam. He doesn't say anything, but it's very clear like he's done communicating with you all.
Cool. She's still gonna stay in the doorway until she's addressed again.
There is, so everyone else is filing out and Bansii is still in the doorway. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
After a enough of a few moments pass to where there's a gap between the last person and Bansii, right? And Bansii still hasn't left. Miriam will look over at you and say, "Is there something you needed?"
Yes. Has there been any fires in any of the hospitals in this town?
She looks across some of the papers, flips through a few things. And while she's flipping through, she says, "No fires in any hospitals or churches or... There was a fire at... 2 fires recently. One at a supply depot just outside the walls of the inner city. Or outer city, so just outside the city. And at a warehouse in the docks. The civilian docks.
Would you mind if I investigated this on my own?
You're free to do whatever it is you would like to do with your shore leave, as long as it does not conflict with any of the rules and regulations of the Navy.
Thank you, ma'am. And she'll leave.
Okay. Oh. I feel conflicted and confused, personally, about what just happened and the various things that are going on. You all are allowed to leave. You've made your report to the consul. You've done your duty. You have been given shore leave for the next 3 days. You know that the next 3 days includes this day, basically. Like, sucks to suck, but is the way that it is. So... You will be expected to report for duty in 3 days' time, but you have the rest of this day, and you have the next 2 days to do whatever it is you would like to do within the city of Poso. And I think that is a pretty decent place for us to stop, because I think it's going to be interesting to see what you all come up with as to what you'd like to do within the city. I feel like a couple of you have side quests, obviously, but perhaps also a couple of things maybe you're interested in investigating on what is going on. We have some things going on perhaps with some shady criminal contacts, some interest in things that are going on here or there, some fires, some other potential NPCs to communicate with. And there may be other things that people are wanting to do, downtime activities or things like that. You have access to different types of downtime activities now that you're in a city like Poso, where you could actually get things or be involved with people rather than just being on your boat. So that
peanut butter!
Peanut butter! That could afford people some differing options there. Another thing that I want to do that I think is going to be pretty interesting is continue what we kind of dipped our toes in this evening with Higgins, and that is I want everyone to make just a few, maybe like 2 or 3 NPCs that are in Poso, and these might be NPCs that your character knows, that you're gonna interact with because of something that you want to do, like some side quest that you want to do. Maybe Cobb knows some other divers here in Poso, and that's part of what he wants to spend his time with. Maybe Yuvik knows some old pirate contacts that he runs into here, or something like that. Rinse, repeat, those kind of things. They don't have to be people that you intend or want to interact with. They could be completely random people, like, hey, I want to make a shop owner, and maybe we go to that shop and maybe we don't go to that shop. Or, hey, I want to make this baker just because I think it would be fun. I'm going to reach out to each of you over the course of the next week, and we are going to make some NPCs. Again, it doesn't have to be much, like we did with Higgins tonight. It's kind of who and what they are and give them a name, and that can be all that we go on. It can be like a sentence and a half, or you could actually be like, nah, I want to build out this motherfucker. I have ideas. Let's go, right? And we'll see how that works, and go from there. But right now, you've done the crew of the Unfortunate Scorpion has done their duty. They've reported to the consul Haruda, witnessed a little bit of the intricacies of the great game. And they are now free, left to their own devices, at least for a few days before maybe they get another mission or maybe they don't. We'll see how that goes next time we play. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye! Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.